When you have to stay in hospital after you've given birth, it's not like it is on TV, particularly American TV, that we all sort of watch. You don't get your own room as standard unless something really awful has happened. So you kind of don't want to have your own room. It's like one of the only times you don't want to automatically be offered that. However, if you need one because of sensory difficulties, or because you really, really can't cope with being on a ward, then you can request one, but you might not always be able to be given one. And that does mean that you share the space with a large number of other new parents and their babies, and I think there were at least 8 in my ward. I was admitted to hospital before being induced because I was unwell at the end of my first pregnancy. And this is a different ward to where you're taken after having your baby. I was in early labour for an extremely long time, and my then husband wasn't allowed to stay with me after visiting hours were over, which means that I did some labouring on my own on a ward, which I did find really upsetting. I was quite young, I was unwell and in a lot of pain, as the proper pain relief would only be offered on labour ward when in established labour, which is 4 centimetres dilated. On my first, I was admitted to the postnatal ward for a few days as my bladder had been temporarily paralysed. I was on a catheter, still unwell with my own liver issue. My baby was going jaundice and we were subject to visiting hours again. And there was this expectation for me to do everything myself. So unlike what you see on TV, I wasn't sort of cared for in that sort of really, really hands-on way. So I had to empty my own catheter. When my postpartum blood loss made its way down the catheter tube due to positioning and stained my sheets, I was given fresh ones and I had to change them myself. I also felt like I was in trouble for it. I had to try to establish breastfeeding, which I ended up sort of, in inverted commas, failing at, all in a room with at least 8 other new parents and their babies. All babies stay in cots next to you unless they're in special care. There are no nurseries like you see on American TV, and this is to encourage breastfeeding on demand and bonding. It is understandable, but it means you get little sleep or rest, as even if your baby is sleeping, there is at least one crying at all times. I was lucky that a midwife took pity on me and looked after my baby so I could close my eyes for a bit, but this wasn't standard. I think she could see that I was really unwell. I was really overwhelmed and I wasn't coping. So some top tips: make sure you pack some sensory comfort items in your hospital bag, just in case you have to stay in longer than expected. Ear defenders, an eye mask, soft blankets, slippers, just anything that will make the stay tolerable. A nightie, not just pajamas. Pajamas were impossible with a catheter and postpartum blood loss. So, just having something that means you don't have to wear the hospital gowns with the openings is just really, really helpful. And having some things to keep you occupied, because if you're there for quite a while, the curtains around your bed do get quite boring to look at after a while.